Well, good evening, everyone. This is the regular meeting of the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West, held in Council Chambers at 216 Main Street West, Swan River, Manitoba, this 23rd day. No, not at all.
13th.
Go at it. 13th
Did
day, you did.
Oh, sorry.
June 2023 at 7 p.m. Present this evening, myself, Reeve, Gade, Councillors Burick, Kushniryk, Neely, McGregor, and Blosha. Our interim CAO, Pat Ellingson, was with us. Our videographer, Jeremy Bergen, plus many guests tonight in the gallery. We'll start at section 1.2 of our agenda. Be it resolved, the notice of absence submitted by Councillor Zbirun regarding the regular meeting of council held this 13th day of June 2023 shall be received. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Blosha, and someone to second the resolution. Councillor Neely. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. We have a public hearing scheduled for 7:10, but I know lots of people want to attend tonight, so we're going to wait until 7:10 to get to it, so we'll carry on and come back to it. We'll go to number 3 here for adopting the agenda. Be it resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council held this 13th day of June 2023 be adopted as presented. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Burick and Councillor Kushniryk. Does anyone have any changes, additions, modifications to the agenda they wish to propose tonight? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. We're heading to number 4, adopting minutes. Be it resolved that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on May 23rd and the special meeting of council on May 11, 2023 be adopted as presented. A mover, please. Councillor Kushniryk, someone to second the resolution. Councillor Burick, thank you. Council, you have copies of both sets of minutes on your screens there. Has everyone had a chance to look at them yet? Or do you want a couple minutes? Sounds like a couple minutes. The special meeting one's pretty straightforward. The other one has quite a few resolutions in there to look over. Does anyone need more time, or are you good to go ahead? Everybody's all right? So any errors or omissions that we're seeing tonight while you're looking at that? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor of the resolution? That's carried. We head to general business. We'll get started on 5.1. I don't know if we'll get done this by 7:10 or not. We may have to stop and come back to it. So 5.1, we have been discussing purchasing a vehicle for our Public Works Department because our 2 existing vehicles are in very bad shape. So our CAO has spent some time and sent out a request for quotations. So council can see 2 responses here. As per our current policy, those responses haven't been made public yet tonight until a decision is made. If we do accept one of those quotes, we'll make all of those quotes public. We changed that a while back because we were having, I see looks in the gallery, so let's explain the policy. We changed it because we were having people submit quotes, but sometimes not all the quotes were here on the first night, and if we didn't make a decision because we were waiting for more quotes, it wasn't fair for people to see the other quotes before they submitted theirs. So we don't publish any of them until a decision is made. As soon as we made a decision, we publish all the quotes.
I just thought you would make a decision after you declared the deadline.
Typically we do. What we found happens is once in a while, council will have a concern with the quotes and want changes to them. They'll see something and the quotes won't work out right. So we had some concerns from vendors that were having some troubles with that. So we kind of met in the middle. We do publish them all, but not necessarily until the decision is made. We've also attached tonight a copy of the tendering procurement policy. So this is the most recent one. It's policy G7. Is this the most recent one? September 2022, yeah, so it has the amendments in it. So we wanted to be cognizant because of the value of some of these quotes, whether or not we were compliant with the policy. So the policy, essentially, these will fit into the more than $20,000, less than $75,000 plan for quoting, which means we must use a procurement method under section 7 of the policy. There's various ones out there. We have discarded sole source for this because there's multiple vendors. We looked for requests for quotations from known suppliers. So this request was sent to each supplier of vehicles in the valley, and they've all had an opportunity to respond to it. 2 have responded to it so far. There was discussion a third was going to respond, but they have not. So that's the 2 you're seeing tonight. The one quote is for a used vehicle, that's from Key Chevrolet. And you can see the long list of specs that are attached to it. The other quote is for new vehicles. There's 2 new vehicles quoted, both of those from Redline. And the prices are there for them as well. The Redline quotes, I believe, have tax added on top of that, don't they?
No, I think
Is that
it's
inclusive of tax? Yes, okay, it looks like it is inclusive of tax. So these should all be inclusive. Obviously, the low quote here is the one from Key. It's exactly what we had budgeted to the penny, which means they probably read the paper last week and saw how much was in the budget. Be my guess of how they managed to get it exact. The questions here for council, what do you want to do? Do you want to look at a used vehicle, new vehicle? The request was simply for what was available in stock. Councillor Neely.
That first quote from Key, there's no year on that I can find. Am I missing something?
2020.
2020.
2020, it's on there.
Yeah, I think it's right at the top, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm on the other one right now, so I'll get out of here and find it.
Top of the second page, right under vehicle summary.
Yeah, 2020.
In that tiny little writing
Okay.
that you can hardly see.
So that vehicle is almost,
I'll zoom in on it. There.
Yeah, you gotta
Okay,
zoom
we're good.
in.
it's gonna be going on almost 5 years old. It's 4 years old now.
It's got a build date of March 16th of 2020, so it's a little over 3. I was thinking the same as you.
It was 20, 21, 22, 23, that's 4 years.
So,
We're in the middle of 23 right now.
mhm.
So it's what, 3.5 years?
But March is when it was built.
Oh, okay.
So it's 3 and 3 months.
Yeah.
Its 3-year warranty expires in August this year, which is going to have 57,000 kilometers on it, so it would be expired by the end of that anyway. Powertrain continues to 100,000 or August of 25. You can see in the request for quotations, we provide a few basic specs for vendors. We want a crew cab, 4x4, V6 engine or better, AC and power windows, and a trailer tow package, which is the basic things we needed. Everything else was up to them what they provided. The idea of asking for something that was in stock was that we didn't wait 6 months for a vehicle because we're needing one soon. Do you want to discuss this further in camera?
Yeah,
Or
I think so.
there's probably some stuff there that we, okay. So we'll table that. Let's go to 5.2 then, the Swan River Fire Department May Report. So a copy of the report is attached there. The fire department for Swan River was out to 4 calls, twice to the same location. 3 of the calls were grass fires, 1 was a motor vehicle incident. We have a resolution to go with this. Resolved, the May Report of the Swan River Fire Department be accepted as received. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Neely, seconded by Councillor Kushniryk. Any discussion on the fire department report? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. We're at 7:09, so I think we'll head towards the public hearing. We'll bring a resolution here resolved that the regular meeting of council adjourned to go to the public hearing regarding the application for conditional use for Northwest 24/24/27 West at 7:09 p.m. And that we shall reconvene following the public hearing. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Burick, and a seconder. Councillor McGregor. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. Change screens for a moment. So we'll call to order the public hearing of the Council Municipality of Swan Valley West held in Council Chambers at 216 Main Street West, Swan, Manitoba, this 13th day of June 2023 at 7 p.m. Present for the hearing tonight, myself, Reeve, Gade, Councillors Burick, Blosha, Neely, Kushniryk, McGregor. Our interim CAO, Pat Ellingson, is here as well. Council, you have a second agenda if you want to pull it up for the public hearing. It has all of the details for conditional use. In all that. So it should be in your list of agendas. If you go back there, you'll be able to pull up the documents that support the application we're going to hear tonight. Make sure everybody has a copy of it in front of them, because I want to make sure we can all see it. You have a Councillor Burick? Is that, no? Okay, we'll do that
So
for you.
you got that. We'll go back to your agendas. Would you have to refresh? Yeah.
Oh,
That's it? Perfect, thanks. Thanks.
Councillor Neely, do you have it pulled up there? Councillor Neely? Were you able to get it on your screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So we have an application. The application is from Lucas Thiessen from Winnipeg on behalf of the proposal to build 4 cabins and a washroom facility for a youth camp that would host up to 40 participants. Cabins would be 30 feet by 18 feet each. The divided washroom facility would be 56 by 24. The particular area they're proposing to build this on, Northwest 3427 West, is Zone AG, agricultural. So this is a conditional use. Council has the opportunity to review the application tonight. If it was a permitted use, it wouldn't come here tonight. A building permit would just be issued. But because it's a conditional use, Council has an opportunity to decide if we want it to be built or not. And ultimately, it's Council's decision. So you'll see in the application tonight that the appropriate planning district and such has signed off on this application. So we're not waiting for any other people to weigh in on this. The ultimate question does come to our council tonight to make a decision on whether or not this can be go ahead. If we approve the conditional use tonight, building permits would then be issued and it would go through the normal building process. Our options are to approve it as is, to suggest that there'd have to be conditions, or to deny the application outright, and then it would not proceed. So I know we have folks here from Winnipeg that came to talk about it. We've seen him before. We have some folks from the local area as well. Does anyone have a preference on who goes first? Do you guys want to hear from him and hear what he has to say?
Him first.
Okay, let's come on over.
Yeah, go ahead, yes.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, it's kind of bad that he's already presented to you anyway, so we're kind of a second.
Well, and I would suggest do the full presentation over again, because I think the audience would like to hear it.
Of course, of course. Well, hi everybody. My name is Dustin Patson. I'm a senior policy analyst over at the Manitoba Métis Federation, and I'm assisting with this particular development plan for our proposed youth camp. So, as council has said, the location, I don't know, I have my laptop here. I can share my screen. The location is
We're all familiar with it.
Right next door.
Yes.
wonderful. The neighbors.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, as you all know, it's a 40-acre property, and the Manitoba Métis Federation is looking at building 4 cabins. There'd be two cabins for males and 2 cabins for females, with 10 youth per cabin and 1 counselor. It's a summer camp type of cabin, open to the youth and the children. We're also looking at building divided washrooms for the facilities as well. Again, one side for male, one side for female. The washrooms will include all of your standards for your toilets and your showers, et cetera, that a 40-person youth camp would require. We're also installing, we've actually installed the well already to our facility. And we're looking at putting in a septic field once we have all the permits and things that we require for that. so that it will be fully serviced for the cabins and the washroom facilities. These are our preliminary renderings that we put together, what the cabins would look like. So right behind, I'm sure everyone's familiar with what our primary house on the property looks like. So just behind that, like directly behind that house, we're looking at building a small cul-de-sac with 4 cabins. Again, boys on one side, girls on the other, and then the washrooms in between. And then there's going to be kind of a meeting area with a fire pit, etc. in the middle. And then the main house that's on the property right now that is existing will be our programs and services space. We'll be doing crafts and fiddling lessons and things like that within the facility. And then again, here's another rendering of what one of those cabins look like close up with the floor plans. The thought is to have 5 bunk beds and 1 counselor bed in each facility. There's also a small locker room that will be built onto each and every cabin, and a small storage room. The washrooms, I can go over what we plan to have in it. For the boys' side of the washroom, we're going to have a standard toilet, an accessible toilet, 2 urinals, 4 standard showers, 1 accessible shower, 3 sinks, and a mop bay. And the sinks are also accessible. For the girls' washroom, we'll have 3 standard toilets, 1 accessible toilet, 4 standard showers, and 1 accessible shower, and then 3 accessible sinks, and a mop bay. These are some renderings that we have for our washroom facilities. Again, boys will be on one side, girls will be on the other. There will be a separation between the 2 washrooms with a storage facility in the middle and a mechanical and lecture room in front of that. And that's what I have in a nutshell for you all today. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might be having.
What are the ages of those kids?
It's a very good question.
12 to 17 or?
Well, that's a very good question. We haven't defined the exact ages at this point in time. From my understanding, it'll be 18 and under. With the exception, we're kind of cutting the point off around the early later childcare age, a little too young. But somewhere in that point, we haven't got, again, finalized ages yet, but that will be coming out, and we will be providing that to the public as soon as we understand that.
And how do the kids qualify for that testing?
Qualify. So it would just be like a regular camp?
Maybe that's the wrong word. So are they troubled youth or?
No. This is just children who want to attend camp. Like if are you familiar with Camp Cedarwood or something like that? That's where I went as a kid. And it would be the same idea. They come, their parents apply, and the kids come to the youth camp.
Okay. And that would run from summer only?
So currently it's summer only. We're hoping to open up on August 1st. That's across our fingers, right? We really want to give our youth the opportunity to go this summer. But we are building all the facilities to be year-round. So in the future, we may be able to open up during maybe winter months, Christmas, to have a small thing for the kids and programming services potentially year-round. Noting that we know kids are always in school, so it may not work during like full week camps, but maybe weekends and things like
And
that.
the kids will come from throughout Manitoba?
Throughout Manitoba, that's correct, yes.
So you've started to build there already then?
No, we don't have any permits to do.
August 1st would be a little optimistic.
Well, we're pretty good at what we do. I'm optimistic, but I believe we can get it done.
Oh, Yeah, okay. inventory's partly there. Somewhere. Yeah.
You're not wrong. Somewhere. It's not quite on the property yet.
What's troubling me with this, folks? I live in the, I wasn't sent a letter, but I live in close proximity to where that camp's going to be. This seems like a formality to me. It just seems like it's a feel-good thing to me, because the number's already been delivered there. Numbers, albeit it's at the wrong location. A lot of the material has been delivered already. So why are we going through this if it's already been cleared to go? It's kind of troubling. It's kind of it's almost insulting. It's somewhat disrespectful, really. It's somewhat disrespectful to have that delivered. I don't know who brought the material out, but it looks like rafters. I never drove up to it, but it's already delivered. But it's on.
It's on your property.
Yeah, it's on my property.
So,
But that's not the thing, because you guys jumped the queue. I feel more offended by the fact that you presented to them
Yeah.
before this particular, it's like
definitely think, and you said yourself, Bill, that we really don't have a say in it. It's, the total thing is up to you guys and that's it. But at least one thing about it is, we do get a chance to bring up some concerns for sure.
Yeah.
You know, and that, I would really like to. I had some experience with with Rick Wochuk's jumper plane strips, like for about 10 years. And my God, there was times when he lost total control. Those kids were literally coming back out of the bush to go party and then going back in before he woke up in the morning. They ransacked a trapper's cabin and a bunch of other things. They did, because there wasn't enough support. There was no counseling. So really would love to see a set figure on counselors and number of students. And then you also need a night watchman. I mean, Rick couldn't manage it. It was really brutal. If the kids got a chance to wake up and roam around, wow.
If I may speak to that. So the rafters, again, Bill, my apologies that was delivered incorrectly.
Well, it shouldn't have been delivered.
Yes.
You don't have the permits yet.
True, we don't have the permits to build, but we were bringing all the material in hopes, like I said, it's very optimistic to say August 1st, right? So if things do get passed, we expect it to build right away. If things don't get passed, then we don't build at all. And that's just unfortunate, we don't make the investment. As for the kids, that's a really good question. So you're right, if you don't have sufficient staff, you can't run a youth camp. Our government will definitely support this youth camp, that's why we're building it. We will be creating many jobs on that facility. We'll make sure that every single cabin, I know this for sure, will have a counselor to the cabin. We'll also have primary counselors and a 24-hour staff security / maintenance person on board, on top of additional staff to assist keeping care of the property. That's something I know is already in development, and our Métis employment and training staff is currently working on a program to ensure that all the counselors are properly trained as well.
It sounds wonderful, listen, but kids will be kids. If I have kids in my yard, 2 or 3 in the morning, I want your phone number and I'll call my counselor as well. But I need some numbers to call.
Of course.
Instead of me getting in trouble dealing with it, if I find kids in my yard at 3 in the morning,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to be able to call you.
Share that.
And probably all the counselors here. That's what I want. We bought that area because it's very quiet and peaceful. We just want to stay there. And there's no crime in that area. There's not much goes on there. That's why we bought that.
That's what we bought.
So-
We're at the end of the road.
So, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying to you?
I know exactly what you're saying to me.
When I want your spelling and your phone numbers, contact info. I just don't want to have to deal with kids in my yard at 3 in the morning.
You can call me at any time,
Okay.
that's for sure. I'll provide all my
Okay.
contact information to all of you. And as I said, as we staff the facilities, we'll provide you with a site manager, we'll provide you with the security staff, we'll also provide you with the counselors who are on.
There shouldn't be a
Okay.
kid coming up our lane.
Perfect.
Oh, no.
But we,
Like
that's-
from any of, there shouldn't be anybody coming up
That's perfect.
to any of our, they should be going down that road, but nobody should be coming up.
Into your properties.
No, up that, up, yeah, into our properties and up
Or
that.
even- yeah, even up the road.
Even going up our road, because the only people there is him, us, and Jim Mulch.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, and that is an issue, because already that has been an issue, because when they first bought the property, I noticed a couple of extra quads going in every little turn to check it out. It was like,
Yeah.
bam, already.
Of course,
So,
the expectation, of course, for everyone, including us, is to ensure the children are safe
yeah.
and accounted for, right?
Yeah,
We have
I don't want
40-acre
quads,
property.
I want quads
Yeah,
on
and
my
that would
property
be-
using,
And that would be a liability issue for, because
Yes.
the kids are assured that you're going to look after the children.
Yeah.
Parents are assured, so there's a liability issue for you guys to take care of those kids.
Yeah.
We will
exactly.
ensure, yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, we're gonna have trained professional staff at
Yeah.
all of these facilities. We also, I don't know if you know this, but the MMF operates many daycare, childcare facilities, I should say. We're building them across the province. We have lots of experience in childcare, and we're very, very confident that this camp will be successful.
With your newly acquired hunting rights through the MMF, is that going to be an issue there with those kids? As far as shooting moose and elk?
I do not believe it will be an issue.
Because, boy, it's bad enough putting up with potential gunfire from the road. Really bad, put up from the backside too. And that's an issue, because it already has been an issue, right? Because for some reason, cruising around looking for help this year already,
Yeah.
with a gun.
And ending up on our
Shit.
property.
And ending up there, so,
Driving right through the property.
We're just worried about
So-
trespassers and
Yeah.
people hunting on our land.
it really depends on what your camp is going to allow. If everybody's allowed access to a quad or stuff like that, then things get, I mean, that was the problem with Rick's thing. After a while, kids started to bring quads, gas, 4 miles in, and they needed 10 gallons of fuel.
That's a very good
So,
point.
I mean, if you're gonna run quads, you got a ton of liability and a road and a bunch of stuff.
So that's a very good point. Youth won't be having any access to drive any kind of motorized vehicle.
Yeah, because it's a liability for you too. right?
That's it, exactly. If you look at it at a business standpoint, if it was an individual entity, that's exactly right. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
For what I was saying is, we're providing a safe space, a great environment for youth to participate in summer activities, just like a camp would be, right? Learning how to do crafts. We're going to be doing land-based learning as well, learning about the plants and the animals and the trees. We're going to be learning about a lot of River Métis culture, jigging and fiddling and those types of things as well. And it brings everyone together, it keeps the kids together, and that's what the whole point is, right? So that they can grow and learn and get some life skills.
Sounds wonderful, as long as that's the model that is followed straight through. What I'm concerned about 5, 8, 10 years down the road, what's going to become of that camp? Is it going to become a hunting camp for MMF or adults during the fall and winter? Is there going to be a cooler put in there? Like this is to get it clear to go. Then what's going to happen after that? I'm sure your intentions are honorable for children. Wonderful. That's a great thing to get kids away from laptops and cell phones and get them in the bush. Any kid. Beautiful. But what's going to become of that after?
That's a very,
After
very
the children lose interest, you know what I mean?
So that's a very good question. So right now, 10-year projections, I don't have any concrete answers for you.
Yeah.
All I know is that this is getting a very significant investment by our government to build this in camp. It's over $1 million. And this is going to be a professionally run camp intended for youth. Like, we're very, very youth oriented. We always say that's our future. We want to give them the best future we can possibly provide them. And personally, I believe this is going to be a youth camp for a very, very, very long time. My children hopefully will attend. That's what I can tell you.
What will be the interchange of it? Is it a week-long, 2-week program for each group of kids?
That's a very good question. Again, in terms of our programming and services, we haven't finalized anything. I've heard both 5-day and 10-day programs, but nothing's been finalized at this point in time.
Just frustrated. But if it goes like you're saying, that's the way you're presenting here. Wonderful. That was great.
Yeah, there's an excellent, I mean, there's Mud Lake out east. There's a whole bunch of stuff for a nice short walk. We ski that in the winter. It's just like everything. It's good for the kids. There's no doubt about it.
I would
But
hate-
it, yeah, but
I would
it
hate
looks
for
like
it-
it's gonna
I would
be.
hate for it to stray from the model you have, is what I'm saying. With the leadership in place right now, probably not gonna be an issue, but the leadership in 8, 10 years, 12 years, what's gonna become of the place?
Well, that's,
And if it gets to be an operation that's completely out of hand, then, you know, we all get old and we sell our properties, our property values are gonna go down because they're gonna say.
Or if we can sell it.
They're gonna say, well, there's a camp over there, not run very good, but these kids are there all summer. You know what I mean? The property values could potentially be affected if it's not run proper, is what I'm saying.
I hear
So
exactly.
like
what
any
you're
youth group, any camp, any.
or any facility in general.
Facility,
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. All I can tell you is the government of the River Métis, the MMF, has a very good track record. We've been very successful in all of our builds and operations, and we are a very strong government with a very big backing. So I don't believe it will ever be an unsuccessful venture.
Get off track.
Or get off track.
So then there's another thing, and that's for you guys. They have the same tax rate as everybody else?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, no, I didn't want it to be perfect.
No, no.
The OEM still has to pay for stuff.
Yeah, no, of course, and the MMF, that's part of our infrastructure, right? When we build something, we contribute to the community.
Yes.
So a couple points. Does anybody else have questions for Dustin right now? We'll keep him here, because we're not gonna let him go until we. Get to leave.
Sounded like he's leaving for a
We're
minute.
not letting you go that easy.
The land description, I'm not sure of. Barry, where is it?
No, it's actually, he's been to my place a couple times.
I know
Well,
where
it's
Bill lives, I know where
directly
you live.
Arnold
But where-
Raymond and Noreen Ferris lived there. Ken Ferris's place? Used to be
Oh,
Ken
and
Ferris.
where your Uncle Josh was back in there?
That's my dad's.
Straight east of there.
Straight east
The
there.
next,
Or-
the next
or
40
your dad,
acres
yeah.
over.
Yeah.
40 acres east of where Jack used to live, yeah. And then
Okay,
back there
okay.
too, yeah.
I know where it is.
Yeah.
And behind where Crystal used to live.
Yes.
Ken
So-
Ferris brought that home down, it was a prefab, I think, up north. He moved it down there. Ken and Shirley,
There was two
40 years ago.
places back in there, right?
Well,
Your dad?
it's divided in, the quarter section is divided into 2 squares and then 2 long pieces on the south side. So that's why we border 2 sides of their property,
On the west side of them, yeah.
to the south and to the west.
So on the tax front, we charge taxes based on what assessment services does. So they will assess the property as they normally would. The question will be whether they assess it as residential or commercial. And that will make a difference, right? Because if it's residential, it'll be portioned at 45%. If they see this as a commercial thing, they'll portion it at 65%. But we don't get to impact that. Assessment determines that based on the use of the buildings. So they'll pay either the same amount as residential would in the area, or they may, if they get classed as commercial, pay the higher tax rate. But they wouldn't pay any less than a normal house would in the area. It would be at least the same.
Yeah, okay, I mean, yeah, I was just, it would be, there's enough groups with special privileges and that.
And on to the point of, the cart before the horse thing. We certainly weren't aware last time we saw Dustin that materials had been delivered to the site, or to not the site, as the case may be, close to the
It's
site.
not the same.
It's
Yeah,
not a big.
they almost got
Never
there.
did any damage or anything. I mean, but
We, under the rules we have for zoning and such, assuming they had put it on the right property, there's nothing preventing them from putting building materials on the property. What prevents them from doing is actual building. So if they wanted to take the risk of putting building materials there,
Oh, yes, they're gambles.
it's their gamble. If council was to deny the application, they could keep the building materials there for a while, until they eventually took them someplace else. But they couldn't build. Without our permission, they can't begin building. So we certainly haven't made a decision at all. Typically, when we have a contested hearing, like 90% of what we see here is we have an application, we have no concerns from anybody, and we just run it through. As soon as we have people with concerns, we slow down and we listen to the concerns. And that's, our preference would be if at the end of the conversation, everybody in the room says, you know what, with these certain rules, this is doable, and we'd all be okay with it. If we end up with a situation where someone here says, there's absolutely no way that I ever want this, then council has to make a decision. But if shortly we all say, you know what, if these few things are done, we're all okay, then really council isn't having to make a decision, right? Because we've all made that decision as those with concerns. So what I heard from the conversation was we would look to Dustin for an undertaking to provide emergency contact numbers for management of that camp to anyone within 5 miles of the camp. So if there was an incident that perhaps kids escaped, probably not the right terminology, but I think we know what we mean, right?
16 to 18.
So that,
I'm such an angel, man.
yeah, I'm sure you were. But would that would be something we would
Oh,
look at?
that would be
Because
wonderful,
then-
because it does make you totally accountable, and, it would be, and if I wake up in the middle of the night for no reason, I'm like, man, I'm gonna love to share that attitude.
Of course. And like I said, we are accountable for every single
So
child that.
that's great. Like Barry, what you worry about is the same thing that happens a lot of times when somebody buys a piece of property up there. You're the exception. But every time somebody buys a piece of property, next thing you know, they consider their land and everything behind it is their hunting right. plus the road, plus out front.
Yeah,
plus-
and
You know, they-
covered
yeah.
to and from.
Yeah, you bet, yeah, it's like when you're driving through town, you can still shoot it there. Yeah, so
So-
that is a problem, the hunting thing,
It's just.
it's nasty, it really is, because my kids were going out to the bus one day, I got in the vehicle, I went down the road, there's a truck parked there, and I look across, and there's a guy sneaking through the bush with his gun, trying to hunt a deer, and my kids are out at the bus stop. It's like, you never had permission, nobody gave you permission anywhere along that road. So the hunting is really a sore spot.
And that's another really good point as well. I mean, in totality, safety is our number one priority. We won't be allowing, first of all, people to just come in on our properties and go hunting and use guns and things under the regulations. This is a youth camp. This isn't a hunting lodge.
Yeah, and that's great to know.
Yeah.
That's really important to know. Yeah. Well,
But yeah, that's the big thing, and with that close access to the Crown land there, if they ever do open up any moose season for various groups, that's gonna be a disaster for the moose, I think.
Oh, yeah, that was one reasonably isolated place, but, you know, you'd see more of them there.
So I wonder, I'm looking to my mind to conditions we could impose. So if we impose the condition of emergency contact information to the neighbors, which I think is fairly easy to comply with. So, once the camp is in operation, each neighbor within a catchment area, to my mind 5 miles, but we can change that to whatever makes sense, is provided with emergency contact details for the camp. So they're able to call if something happens and reach somebody rather than wondering, who do I call, right? There's a number, this is where you call, the phone rings there. And I think this is the plan already, but how would we feel about requiring that when the camp is in use, there's 24-hour supervision by,
Yeah,
we'll
that's what I got.
yeah.
Yeah, because boy, some counseling, everybody wants to sleep except you can't do that.
And the other question I was curious about, was the concerns I heard was if this becomes not a youth camp someday. And so the question to Dustin, if we imposed a condition that we're approving this on the basis of it being a youth camp, but that the use cannot change without coming back,
Yes.
would that be acceptable?
Oh, that's a, what was that, sorry?
I'm suggesting we impose a condition of approval that the use is exclusively for a youth camp, and the use cannot change without permission of council. So if it was to become a hunting lodge, they would have to come back here first and say, we now want to make it a hunting lodge. We would go back to hearing and make a decision. We would approve it only for use as a youth camp. Would those three things kind of take care of the concerns?
Yeah, I do worry about the trespassing onto private land. Well, this early January, 10:15 in the morning, I'm standing looking out my window and 2 soldiers went by. One guy had a gun on his back. So I said to my son, I said, let's go see where that is. And it was Bob Church. He's the guy looking after the place. And I said, well, I said, you've had this land for, he said, yeah, about 1.5 years now. I said, well, you should know where the private land is. It was about 10:15 in the morning. So we had a visit, he was cordial, we had a visit. And he indicated that time that that's what they were looking to do. So you can. But diagonally right across my property on Snowmobile. So is that the mindset that's gonna be portrayed to the youth there? That's my fear.
So that's a good point. That was.
But he went right past the house.
And
Didn't even stop.
his nephew Sean had a rifle on his back. So they were out hunting out. I said, there's no
Yeah.
season here. He said, well, we can hunt until the middle of January. Which doesn't make sense to me, but that's another issue. But that's what I'm worried about.
So they're using it as a hunting lodge right now, or they have been.
But that's
You know,
just
like-
something that gets me to thinking, that's kind of why I attend the meeting today. That's what I don't want people on my land hunting.
That will not be an issue, I can guarantee it.
Okay.
And if Bobby Church cross your land, I'll have to talk to him about that, but if we're.
No, he-
It's already been dealt with.
No, he was apologetic,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
but he should know,
Like, we dealt with it.
as long as
Yeah.
they know where the private land is. It just seemed pretty
Yeah.
strange that
Yeah.
10:15 in the morning, 2 snowmobiles would come through my yard, one right
Yeah.
past my house and through my yard with one guy with a rifle on the back.
Yeah.
What I don't want is this camp to be okay, and then I see that every couple of weeks.
It will not be a hunting lodge, that's for sure, it's a youth camp.
So then also, yeah, Bobby wanted me to show him the exact lines. Well, you should have some margin, like, I mean, you got to the Welland Lake Road east, like, why do you need to know where the property line is? 'Cause for safety reasons, if you're shooting, you should be a little further away than the property line. So, you know, it's interesting.
Just so everyone does know, Monday, regardless of the situation, and something we need for our own records, we are having a company come down and do a site survey so that we know exactly where those lot
Oh,
lines.
yeah, and I wasn't worried about because I do the same with my neighbors, I just don't go close to the edge. I don't have to know exactly where the edge is, because I don't go close to it. You know, it's like, so, and, you know, a little bit of a buffer for sure would be nice, but that's not that's not a workable thing all the time. But definitely you have a lot of room to the east. And then if you go a little bit east and then go south, you got a lot more room too, so, yeah. So there's some adequate places, nice hikes.
Oh, it's beautiful, beautiful area.
Well, the only other concern I have is the extra traffic around there. When people come to drop off kids or pick up kids, is this signage, like there's no signage, but I don't know, maybe you're planning on doing that, but everybody comes up the road to check out, oh, is this place or that place, or, you know, that kind of thing. There'd be a lot more traffic and we're fairly quiet.
And people drive fairly slow on that road too, like everyone's quite respectful. There's a lot of deer on that road, so.
Would it
And
be good,
elk, I've seen a bunch of elk.
Yeah.
These are on that.
Yeah.
would it be good, Bill, to put on, say, your driveway, his driveway, private driveway?
Well,
Yeah, or just even.
There already says a dead end road. If we turn up our way, it's the road before that.
But still, even if it says dead end, you'll still come your way though, if it's dead end.
Yeah,
If it's
well,
just a private driveway.
you can't come into us, we're gated.
Okay.
If it comes to be, if this passes, which it probably will there be a name on that camp, like for arrows, like straight ahead, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the only thing, if they make a right and turn up by our place, it would be, and they'd be forced to turn around somewhere. So yeah, there'll be just a sign right on the corner of my property that would do it,
We
right?
would do it.
Straight ahead.
Yeah, make sure that. yeah.
So yes, we intend to have proper signage specifically on property for sure, and then if permissions allow, we would love to put signage up so it's
Yeah,
easy
keep
to
them from turning
access.
south.
Yes.
Yeah, drive.
Another thing to limit some of your concern there as well, we also have, or will be providing, a bus service for parents who need assistance or who wants to have their kid to take the bus to go to camp. We have that as well.
So that's
Practice
good.
there.
We deal with those.
Before I forget, Dustin, you got a card or
So
contact info?
I will provide you all my contact info. I'm just getting new cards, so I apologize about that, but I will make sure everyone has my contact.
Is there any other questions for Dustin? Any other concerns you want to express to council? Is the feeling that with those conditions, this is agreeable to do? Or is there some people who would prefer just not to?
I think I still oppose it.
I just keep thinking down the road.
Yeah. I still oppose it,
Okay.
is my
Keep thinking
opinion.
down the road.
Yeah.
What about,
We do have a very quiet little neighborhood there.
Yeah.
I call it a neighborhood.
And if you have 40 kids in the mix in a day, it's gonna get a little bit, maybe noisy when you're quiet, but.
Yeah.
Quiet, at our age, quiet is nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, we moved there for quiet. Yeah, we didn't move there for this.
Well, one thing about it, the lack of mobility makes a change. Like, I mean, I was worried about a lot of quads, I really was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that, without quads, that makes a big difference. I mean, nobody gets hurt. You also have to really program the ambulance, because it'll get lost over time. So,
Somebody will have St. John's, like the first aid and.
Oh, that will all be
CPR
taken
thing
care
there.
of, yes.
last chance, anything else?
Okay.
I don't know, says that, you have to add that to the condition of signage, or it's okay? Road signage.
You're doing signage for sure.
So it'd be one of the conditions?
Yeah, that's,
Signage? Okay.
that'll be fine.
So are you opposed or are you opposed?
Oh, you want
or-
mine?
Yeah, I want your opinion. I need your opinion.
I'm not
she's uncomfortable, well, she's uncomfortable.
I hope there's not a split,
I'd be uncomfortable, don't I?
hey Bill, I hope there's not a split vote between you and your wife.
Yeah, I'm on the fence. If, as proposed, it could be a great thing. I mean, some of the kids got a lot of stuff out of the trip to Jumper Plains, but and it was so much, but they didn't. I think there was like 2 or 3 unwanted pregnancies, and there was a lot of stuff that just went wrong.
When Rick went up there, is he the only chaplain, like the only one in charge, or do you have other
So
teachers?
hard for him to find anybody that would help.
So I mean, that's,
And I had to work, so I would haul in their gear, and then I would go.
that doesn't help when you're the only one in charge of how
Oh,
many kids. So, I mean, like here,
It
you're
was-
one counselor per how many kids you said?
Per 10,
Per
and then
10.
on top of that, you have your site manager, who's another counselor,
So I mean,
trained.
it's more security, more,
Oh,
Like
definitely,
control,
yeah, that's, yeah.
but Rick, poor Rick, he's by himself, so.
So folks, I hate to move us along, but I think we've heard everything everybody wants. Anything else different? No? So we're gonna move to item 3 on the agenda for the public hearing. So I have a resolution prepared. We'll see if people want to move and second the resolution, then we'll hold debate amongst council on it. You folks are welcome to stay. Whereas the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West has received an application for conditional use on the property known as Northwest 2434 27 West to build 4 cabins and a washroom facility for youth camp with up to 40 participants. Whereas a notice of public hearing was posted and delivered to adjacent landowners in accordance with Part 6 of the Planning Act. And whereas Council has heard from ratepayers with objections to the proposed development, therefore be it resolved, the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West does hereby approve the conditional use as per the application dated May 9th, 2023, with the following additional conditions. Emergency contact information for camp management must be provided to all neighbors within 5 miles of the property. 24-hour supervision is required anytime the camp is in operation. Use is granted solely for the operation of the youth camp, and any variation to the use must be approved by council in advance. And signs must be included directing visitors to the camp to limit accidental traffic to other residents. Be it further resolved, the Reeve and CAO be authorized to sign said order on behalf of the municipality. Does anyone tonight wish to move that resolution? Councillor Burick is the mover. Is there anyone wishing to second the resolution? Anyone wishing to second? Councillor Kushniryk. So we open up to discussion. Who would like to discuss first, Council? Councillor Burick.
I think it's a very good program. It's a good place for youth to attend. Like the gentleman said, they're better at a camp than instead of staying home on computers or whatever like that, things like that. But I've been involved with 3 youth camps: Steep Rock, Madge, Wellman, and very beneficial. And I think this is a great opportunity for young kids, safe place to be. There's conditions that we have, we've heard from the people here, and I think it's a great opportunity for young kids to attend.
Councillor Blosha, what are your thoughts?
I think it's a great opportunity, but I have concerns because I understand what they're saying. I know what it's like to live I know what it's like to live on the farm. We moved there for a reason, to be quiet. Like she says, we have less traffic, we have less. I just wish that their concerns, it's a hard thing to vote on when there's concerns like that out there. That's my feeling.
Councillor Kushniryk.
I'm optimistic with the youth camp aspect as well. I totally agree too. I love the silence at night and you go out and it's just dead quiet. And I would hope that there's noise. I'm not as familiar with your area, so I don't know how far away this is, but I would hope that it's not going to create nighttime noise that disturbs them if they want to go out and have a peaceful night, that there isn't a bunch of noise.
Oh, yeah, you can do it nighttime noises.
Sound travels so well in the dead silence. The comparison to the jumper plane stuff versus this, I would think that most camps are probably run better than that, or any school trip where they're sneaking down hallways and hotels and whatever else gives their nightmares.
It would have to be.
Yeah, so I'd be fairly optimistic that they would keep reins on that. And with the conditions, I'd hope that any council, ours or any future council, would revoke the permit if it does stray from what the agreed upon terms are.
Councillor McGregor.
I don't know, this is a tough one because we have some ratepayers that obviously enjoy their peace and quiet. My concerns with ratepayers is having their peace and quiet, and they move there for a reason. And I like the idea of youth camps. I mean, it's a lot better than some of the other things they can get into, but it's a tough one to be totally in favor of, I thought.
Councillor Neely.
Well, I guess I agree with the majority of everybody that youth camps are a good thing. This is sort of between a rock and a hard spot here, but if these folks could live with these conditions that are attached to this permit, you know, I guess I would be in favor of it. I'm like RJ, you know, got an answer to the ratepayers.
But I think the folks at the table here have to also think about if that was within a quarter mile of, or a couple hundred yards of their house.
Yeah, how would you?
How would you bid? How would you present? I don't.
Yeah.
You have to think of that
Do you want it-
situation. If it was, I can't call it a neighborhood, but if that was, if any youth group was gonna set up a camp within a few hundred yards from your house or a quarter mile, would you say, yeah, that's a great deal, or would you pause? I don't know.
And if you haven't been up there, come up there. Come see how close it is.
It's very quiet place.
Come take a drive before you put a boat in, and come see how close it is to our place, and what you're taking away from us.
The MMF bought a quarter section that used to belong to Baldwin and Egg. Are you familiar with that?
I am, yes.
It's north of where Oaks lives, Mike and Lori Oaks.
I'm not familiar with
yeah.
Oaks,
But it's over there.
but I know exactly where the
But I guess the neighbors there don't have the same issue. It's at a dead end road as well.
that particular property has no affiliation with the youth camp whatsoever.
Okay. I just wanted that to be an alternative site, but, okay.
So council, are you in a position to make a decision tonight? Do you feel comfortable you have enough information? Do you want additional information, and what would you want to make a decision? Because ultimately, we're responsive to everybody here. So we do have an application before us that we can't let drag on for months before we make a decision. We have to eventually come to a decision. For those that, Councillor Blosha, Councillor McGregor, I think were the two that had the biggest question marks, perhaps Councillor Kushniryk as well. What would you want to know more to make an informed decision? What should we be doing here to help you decide?
Well, the only way that I would, like, I do think the camp is a great idea, but I have to think about them too. That I know what they're saying and why they're saying it, and right now I couldn't vote for it because I wouldn't want to take away what they have. That's me. I want to know that these conditions are favorable to them and that they agree with it. They have to live there. I do not, and I have to think about them, and that's my position right now.
I guess like it interjected, perhaps it would be good if anybody here around this table is not familiar with that area, come up and have a look. Give you, visualize the whole deal. It would certainly help you, I think. It would be beneficial as to the distance involved.
Like, I'm not opposed to a youth camp at all. I think it's a great idea, but I hear what they're saying, and I know what they're saying, things. It's a concern.
Your concerns are fair, and we've definitely heard them on our end. I'll bring that to my senior leadership as well. I do want to say you did have another concern about kids keeping you up all night, et cetera, et cetera. That's another thing that, regulated youth camp does not allow for, right? So kids will be going to bed at regulated hours, waking up at regulated hours, and the councils will ensure that does happen. So you're not going to have these wild screaming kids at 11 o'clock at night or something like that. So just so you are aware of that particular point.
So, fairly good curriculum? Like, keep them busy all the time, all day long?
Of course, yeah, we have our Métis Employment and Training Senior Director working along with our other departments to build the curriculum, not only for the kids and the programs and services, but for the counselors to ensure that they're trained to the utmost ability.
And just one more thing, Reeve, Jim Maltby did come over to my place, and he couldn't be here for me, but he did, I know it's here somewhere, he did voice displeasure with that. I told him if he couldn't attend this meeting to put something on paper to send in, whether he did that, I don't know.
Who, Jim?
Jim Maltby.
No, I strongly encouraged him to put something on paper and we could read it, or you could read it, but I received nothing.
Oh, okay.
So I guess he trusted you to
But he-
present his
He did.
arguments.
I told him that we would be attending, but he said he couldn't because he had other commitments, but I
Right.
said, at least put something on paper, then they have something written out as opposed to
Yeah.
just a phone call.
Yeah, I very strongly suggested he do that, but I didn't receive anything.
Okay,
Yeah,
everybody's busy, eh?
yes, I think so.
Council, we need to do something with the resolution. Are we wanting to vote on it tonight, or are we wanting to table it and come back to it at a future meeting? What do we want to do? Councillor Burick.
Well, since I moved it, can we table it for now? And, I just heard all this stuff tonight, but it's just within the last hour, or 40 minutes. Maybe need some time to think about it, maybe if we have other questions. But
We'll
the
leave our,
lady-
we'll
let the-
leave our phone number,
Yeah.
and you guys call
No,
us,
let
come
the-
up if you
Thank
want to, to
I
our
don't know,
property,
I don't
see where
know,
we live.
I don't know what your name is, but
Penny Dunn, Barry Neely.
she wants us to visit the site, so
Yeah,
maybe
come on up.
if we want to come up and look at it.
Yeah.
I would suggest, Brian, for those of you that don't know
Yeah,
what it is.
table it for now, and let's say we've heard their concerns and they've heard the conditions, and maybe they have a little bit of time to think about other things we have.
That's reasonable, yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
fine?
What happens, Dustin, if you don't get a decision until the 27th of June? That would be our next time to bring this up.
27th of June?
Yes.
Okay.
Could you live with that?
I'll have to bring it forward to senior leadership, of course, if that's the decision. I'll have to bring it forward. If we do the 27th of June, of course, we won't be able to open this year, but that's just something that leadership will have to consider.
Would there be a difference of the 20th of June if we had a special meeting to decide?
Yes, we can, we potentially, we could work it out the 20th of June, provided if the vote was in favor, we could expedite the permitting process.
Okay, so council, my suggestion is this.
Right, okay.
We want to,
Yeah, we'll wait till they finish discussing.
Thanks.
Okay, so my suggestion, council, is this. We'll table it tonight, and we will give you folks 6 days to travel to the site, look at the site, speak to the neighbors, and develop some opinion on this. If you're of the opinion that you want to go ahead with this, I want to hear from you after the end of 6 days, because we could conceivably call a special meeting for the 20th if council is in the view of approving this. If you're unsure or not in favor of approving it, we'll leave it until the 27th. But if council is going to vote in favor of this, we'll come back for a special meeting on the 20th to try and meet the timelines of the applicant. But if we can't get a clear answer from people in time for that, we'll pick this up on the 27th. I think we will commit to the applicant that we will have a decision on the 27th, one way or the other, because it's not fair to leave them hanging. Is that agreeable to the group? Okay. So if that's fine.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. With that then, we're going to table the resolution. Now we'll head to item 4 on our public hearing. Be resolved that this public hearing shall now adjourn at 8 p.m. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Blosha, and a seconder. Let's go with Councillor McGregor. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? It's carried. Does council wish to go right back to the meeting, or would you like a 10-minute environmental break?
Maybe 10-minute stress relief.
Okay, so we will have a 10-minute recess. We'll reconvene into the regular agenda after 10 minutes.
Good, sounds good, yeah.
Everybody good to start again?
Yeah.
Resolve the regular meeting of council reconvene at 8:08 p.m. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Blosha, Councillor Burick. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. The requests for quotes, we're taking that to the camera. We've been through 5.2, so I believe we're going to 6.1 now, General Cheques. Be resolved that the council of the municipality of Swan Valley West hereby approves the following payments. General Cheques number 18894 to 18936 in the amount of $179,749.08. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Neely, and a seconder, please. Councillor McGregor. List of checks is provided. We've split up a couple invoices that will be the ones you might be most interested in. The Cook Brothers invoice and the JTL Backdoor Services invoice. I do have all of the checks here this evening. If there's any questions on any of them, now would be a great time to start. We'll give you a moment.
My only thoughts of this one, is that coded wrong? May as well fix it now if we catch it now than later.
Oh, what's that?
Landfill, yes. Check 525, or check 18900, invoice 5258 is not coded right. This is coded to LUD fuel expense, when it's landfill excavation.
Yeah.
It needs to go to landfill. How are you doing, Councillor Blosha? Almost. Spell out the numbers with your fingers.
You wouldn't want to see that.
Does anybody else have questions on checks before we get to Councillor
I
Blosha?
have one here, I'm a little bit concerned, or not concerned, confused.
Okay, which one?
18931, 18932.
It's exactly the ones I was gonna ask you about.
It's nice when that happens.
Are we paying that twice? Or what?
Yeah, it's the same exact number.
One says check cash.
18931, on my actual check version says voided written across it.
Oh, wait, 91?
91.
Or
Oh.
31, 93?
Yeah, it doesn't show voided on the.
If I could explain that, it was a check that stale dated, and they asked us to reissue. And so I asked Debbie to reverse the original check. And there's a thing in the program, and it reissues the check. So she entered the check, and then the system automatically reissued. So then we had to reverse that payment too. So it was only paid once.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah, so
Just looked a little
it
bit
is confusing.
fishy, maybe.
Yeah.
No, I didn't, that shouldn't be the right word.
And I guess my other question is with the, I'm glad to see them laid out, the Cook and the Barkman invoices. Just wondering how close we're staying in budget, since we see the invoices.
Yeah, so we're a touch further down on 6.3. Expenses to current is there.
Okay,
And it's got a listing of every check, including this batch, is in there. So you can see exactly where we're at. Specifically to answer that question, let me look.
oh, it was just,
Listen, ideally when we ask what we put it, because everybody watches gets to hear the answer too. That's not good. So to date, our gravel budget. So let's go to it. So supply of gravel, we've spent $1,000. Crushing, we've spent $42,000. And application, haul and apply, we spent $153,000. So we have $196,000 remaining.
I just want to see how close we were sticking to it.
I did speak to Scott.
And how much had been done, I guess, is the question.
So our cook's gonna spread it all in?
Yes, that's the plan. I spoke to Scott last week about Barkman doing summons. You know, you have to really watch. Here's what is promised to cooks. Here's what we've contracted with them for. This is what they need to do. We've used Barkman for some touch-ups and some things, but ultimately Cooks holds the contract this year, so it's trying to respect that contract. Likelihood is good. Like the contract requires a certain amount of work to go to Cooks. I don't think there'll be any problem with them getting that much. They'll probably get more than that, but we certainly want to respect that contract. And also, I've given him a copy of where we're at, so he can kind of have in his mind too what we're spending on things to make sure we stay within the budget. Any other questions on checks tonight?
Is it 18,929? 18,929, and like, I mean, you don't have to discuss names, but what happened there? Or is that, should that be in camera?
That or those were charged at tax
Yeah,
service.
what happened to that?
Calls, charges for going through the tax sale process. Everything that they do, there's a charge.
Yeah, so it's going through the process then?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
And we pay tax service, but those costs get added to the tax card
Okay.
so that it becomes taxes owing.
Mhm.
Now, as I recall, there is one issue with one of those.
What's that?
There is an issue with one of those
Yeah,
properties that we
yeah.
go to in camera.
Yeah, okay.
And the council will have to decide what they want to do with it.
Yeah, okay,
Um,
okay.
But yes, that's what the check is for.
Yeah.
Any other questions on checks? Everybody good to go?
Yep.
Okay, so hearing no further discussion, call the question. Those in favor of the resolution? That's carried. Next, we move to 6.2, indemnities. Be resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West hereby approves the following payments. Indemnities for May from number 4488 to 4496 in the amount of $11,987.60. Is there a mover? Councillor Burick. Is there someone to second the resolution? Councillor Kushniryk. Discussion on the resolution. The indemnities list is there for everyone. Questions, comments, concerns tonight? So we need a minute to look at them all? Or we want to go ahead already? This side of the table, we want to look? Go ahead. Okay, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. 6.3, bank reconciliation of financial reports. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West hereby receives a bank reconciliation of financial statement for the period ending May 2023 as presented. So it's not completely accurate. The bank reconciliation is for May 2023. Financial statement for the period ending June 13th, 2023. So I'm going to reread this. Be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West hereby receives the bank reconciliation for May 2023, the financial statement for the period ending June 13th, 2023, as presented. Is there a mover, please? Thank you. Someone to second the resolution. Councillor Neely. So we have the bank reconciliation presented there. So this is, if you spin it around, it's a little easier to see. We're going to show people how to scan it the right way up yet too. So we're seeing here the over-short checks. So essentially, this brings us the total of what the bank account is to show us that all of the money is accounted for. So as the last day of May, $659,273.16 in the general account, with the adjustments shown on this page for overshort checks and deposits that aren't yet in, it brings us in balance. So this is Lisa's work. Obviously, she's been catching up, and she is now caught up to May, so we should now be able to see this each month, like we're supposed to. You'll note those long-term overshort checks have names attached to them. So those checks are pretty long in the tooth. In fact, one of them is that $199.36 that we were reissuing tonight. So ultimately, decisions have to be made about those other checks, and you'll either come forward to cancel the check and payment, or we'll reissue the check. Something will happen with those, because the long-term ones are, some of them going to be stale dated already. And then there's the more recent checks that are shown in yellow, I believe. Does anyone have any questions on the reconciliation statement? Hearing none, the second attachment is expenses to current, so this was run earlier today after these checks were prepared, I believe. So this is very, very accurate as to the spending so far in 2023. It has our budgeted numbers as approved in there as well, so you can see the amount remaining in each budget. And probably more for information, but the intention is we're going to be providing this to council each meeting as well, so that we can keep up with where we're at budget-wise and make sure we watch these numbers very closely. So any questions or comments on any of this material in this resolution? Hearing none, I will call the question in favor of the resolution. That is carried. We'll head to 7.1, discussion items. Number 1, 7.1 Parkland District meeting. We need to know of people that are planning to attend the Parkland District meeting. It is on
22nd, I believe.
June 22nd. It's at 9:30 a.m. It's a Thursday in Roblin. Does anyone wish to attend the meeting?
I wish I could, but school day. I wish they would do an evening meeting. Are you gonna be able to go?
It's pretty tough. 22nd. 22nd, I'm scheduled to work till 9:30. If I can rearrange somebody to cover my shift, I could go, but otherwise it would be tough for me to get there, just because of the time of day. Resolved. Does anybody else wish to attend?
I'd love to, but can't.
Can't.
You should have it on a Saturday or something.
Well, an evening.
Well, no, it's an all-day thing. I don't think you can squeeze in the evening. It's an all-day thing usually. Have in the morning, they break for lunch, and they have it in the afternoon, and sometimes they have supper.
Some resolution be resolved that the Reeve be approved to attend the AMM district meeting to be held in Roblin on June 22nd. The expenses be paid as per policy. Is there a mover for the resolution? Councillor Burick, seconder, Councillor Blosha. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. 7.11, weed inspector. Should this be going in camera? It's a job application, I believe.
Yeah, but you looked at it, I just wondered if you were hiring.
Okay, so interview committee has interviewed the applicant. There was only one applicant. The question to council is, do you wish to discuss it in camera, or do you wish to hire somebody here?
Well, I'd like to hear what you have to say about it.
Okay, so we'll send one to in camera tonight. We'll deal with that under HR. 7.2, alarm system monitoring. An invoice has been received for monitoring an alarm system. There have been some concerns expressed in management circles about this particular invoice. Owing to the fact it deals with a vendor and is probably a somewhat sensitive topic, do we wish to discuss in open, or shall we take this in camera as well to discuss these concerns from management? It deals with security of the office, so that would qualify for in camera to discuss those security concerns. So we'll move 7.2 in camera. 7.3, Prairie Mountain Health meeting. There's a meeting coming up on June 21st for Prairie Mountain Health. I believe this is the stakeholders meeting. It was rescheduled a couple of times. It's finally taking place now. It's at Swan Health Center. Light lunch is provided. Representatives of the council are invited to attend to hear updates regarding health services in the Swan River area. Does anyone wish to attend?
That's you, is it not?
This is an invite to all of us. It was sent to all of council, so as many of us can go as want to.
And what time is that, did you say?
12:30. The time has been changed a bit too.
Well, I don't, it's not your problem.
Is anybody interested in going? Okay, if I do attend, I'll attend as a committee member from one of those committees I'm on, and just call it that. So I'm not gonna bring a resolution for it tonight. 7.4, workplace safety and health. As council is aware, we've been dealing with some workplace safety and health concerns. We have some mandatory orders that we're still dealing with from the dear folks in the Manitoba government to make sure everybody goes home safe tonight. The main concern right now is centering around our documents. So when amalgamation happened, we have Village of Benito workplace safety and health plans. We have Arm of Swan River workplace safety and health plans. What we do not have is Municipality of Swan Valley West workplace safety and health plans. While we were of the opinion that it was simply a matter of the name on the top of each page and that we could figure it out, the inspector does not share that opinion with us. He believes that unless the correct name is at the top of the page and a date more recent than 10 years ago is also written on the page, the plan is not current and we're subject to fine. So I've asked the CAO to provide some options. What you're seeing before you tonight is a proposal to update the plan with an outside contractor. These folks were recommended by Manitoba government as someone that could do this efficiently and quickly and bring us into compliance. Nothing here suggests that we're going to change what we're doing. Our actual plans are good and suitable. It's the documentation of what we do that is out of date and is causing us issues. So the quote is to do this work for a cost of $2,000. The work must be completed by the 30th of June. It's been indicated that we are out of extensions on receiving our fines. The fine would be at least $1,500, possibly more. So I must beg a little forgiveness here. This quote came in a few days ago, and I advised the CAO to begin work on it already because we have to have it done by the 30th, and the feeling of the contractor was that they would not be able to complete it in time. So obviously it's still here for council's decision, but I want you to be aware that I've asked work to begin on this already so we meet that timeline and don't pay a fine for no reason. Well, there's an update. Let's hear the update. Is it better?
Well, kind of. Two of the improvement orders that are outstanding is PPE policy and training, so that everybody's trained in how to use the PPE. And then the other one is safe work procedures. So Melissa, the gal that's provided this quote, has advised me that she has those policies updated, all with the correct name and a current date, and she will provide the training. And so then we can do a compliance report on those orders and send it in. We should earn some brownies for that. So she's ready. I asked her if she'd just go ahead and do that so that we can get the compliance report in as quickly as possible, which will show good faith in getting the plan redone.
Second resolution tonight be resolved that the Municipality of Swan Valley West approve the quote for upgrading our workplace health and safety documentation and training as discussed. Is there a mover? Councillor Neely, and a seconder, please. Councillor McGregor. Further discussion on this topic? Does anybody have questions, comments, concerns to share?
Gotta be done.
Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried.
I saw your hand.
7.5 organizational chart. We have two versions of the organizational chart presented here tonight. I hate taking things in camera. However, you'll notice the difference in the organizational charts pertain to whether or not the chart shows urban lead hand in between urban public works employees and our current lead hand. That is likely an HR discussion that should be held in camera. So unless someone can make an argument to not take it in camera as an HR matter, I think we have to take it there too, to discuss that, and then we'll come up with a resolution following in camera. Sorry, folks. 8.1. This at least is something we can do in the open tonight. This is the Benito District Recreation Center. A letter's been received by council. They are asking us to consider a donation to the fireworks program for July 1st, Canada Day celebrations. They're asking for a generous donation. So as you may recall, when we did our budgeting, we had budgeted to do two things for the Benito Recreation Center. One was to pay the insurance as per normal. The other was we set aside $10,000 for them to make proposals to us if they wished to have some sort of special funding for something. So this would be one of those proposals where they've identified something they would like to do. So if we went ahead and provided money here, we'd be taking it out of that $10,000 that was set aside for use for that. We do have a resolution prepared tonight, but the resolution does not have a dollar amount listed in it. Do we have any advice on what we've done before, for how much? So typically we've provided $500.
I believe that's right.
Typically, we provided 500 and the LED provided 500.
It
So
was
actually it was
505.
1,000.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone want to make, I hear 1,500? What do we want to put in here for the resolution?
Well, might as well put the
I
whole
would
thing
put
in.
the 1,000 in.
Put the whole thing in, then the LED doesn't have to.
Well, they don't have budget for
Yeah.
that.
Okay, so resolve, the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West approve the request for support for the new Recreation Center Canada Day celebration in the amount of $1,000. Is there a mover? Councillor Blosha, someone second the resolution.
From Benito.
Councillor Kushniryk. Almost didn't see you there.
He's kind of hesitant.
Further discussion on the resolution. Is everybody okay with the amount? Any other discussion to be had? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. 8.2 Swan River Fireworks. A very new person came to see me, the new recreation director for the town of Swan River. He brought with a letter. That letter is attached to the agenda. He was surveying all businesses and specifically wrote us a letter to the real municipality of Swan Valley West, wondering if we would provide support to their fireworks. In the previous years, they've spent about $5,000 on fireworks, $3,000 on bouncers. They received $1,900 this year from Government of Canada funding, so looking for donations. He indicated the fireworks this year will be moving back to the grandstand, so it won't be the large high show we saw during COVID, it will be the close-up show you sit in the grandstand to watch, so it won't be as expensive as perhaps the big show was. He also indicated that there had been discussion at Town of Swan River Council about the amount of money they'd spent on bouncer rental over the years. So the town is considering purchasing a bouncer this year to go with other ones, with the idea of developing their own bouncers so they don't spend rental fees on them all the time. Councillor Neely.
I'm an old timer. What's a bouncer?
Bouncy castle.
Yeah, the bouncy castle.
Those red and blue jumping houses and yellow.
Oh, them bouncy houses?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
You're not allowed to go in
Sorry.
there. We're too big.
Yeah.
I'd like to try one of them.
We'll make exceptions.
We'll get you one.
His letter did not say an amount. I
It-
pushed him for a little bit on the amount. He said they were really hoping we might contribute $500. What's the feeling of council? Do we wish to contribute to the Swan River fireworks? And if so, $500?
Yeah, 500. I don't know if we ever did before. I
Yeah,
don't
we
believe we did. We give money to the Swan River fireworks before. I
Yeah.
can't remember.
Okay, so we have a resolution be it resolved. We approve a donation to the Swan River Fireworks Committee for fireworks for July 1st Canada Day celebrations in the amount of $500 as requested. Is there a mover? Councillor Neely and this is Councillor Burick to second the resolution. Any further discussion on the resolution?
Just comments. There's likely just as many RM people watching it as there is town Swan River people.
Absolutely. Anything else? Not, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. We move to unfinished business. 9-1 fire protection with the arm of Livingston. Ms. CAO, do you have an update on that? Is that just for our approval now?
Yes, I had drafted an agreement based on the old agreement that they've had for years in the past. Then Kelly, their CAO, looked at it and she updated a few things. For example, they like to have their number 331 in as well as the name RM of Livingston. So like it was just a few minor things like that. And the other change that she wanted to make was number 3. So they want us to bill the ratepayer where the fire was, and only if the ratepayer does not pay, then we would turn around and invoice the municipality, and the municipality would pay, and then they would go after the ratepayer for the money. So those are the only changes to the original draft that you had looked at and approved to send over to them.
They used to pay us and then go after the ratepayer with
Yes.
reimbursement. Is that?
Yeah, we used to invoice the municipality, now they want us to invoice the ratepayer, so,
And if we don't get paid in 60 days, it'll come good for them.
yes. Yeah, so the end result's all the same.
Yeah.
Because most of the time it would save one step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We passed a resolution prior on this, but this has been updated, so we want to get another resolution tonight, or what do you want us to do for action?
Yeah, probably wouldn't hurt to, I never thought to put one in there, but, we can put it as updated.
See the new retainer fee that's been put in there. The retainer, whatever you call it.
The 2,500?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of a flat rate.
Be resolved, the Council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West approve the revisions to the fire protection agreement with the Arm of Livingston as presented. Is there a mover? Councillor Neely, and a seconder. Councillor Blosha. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That's carried. 9-2, the Swan River Fire Board. As council knows, we're in a memorandum of understanding with the town of Swan River. We entered into that on May 16th for 90 days, for 30 days perhaps, according to the resolution here. That 30 days is coming due for expiry. The Fire Board has not yet met. There's a proposed meeting date for the 21st or 22nd? Blow my calendar. The 21st at 7 p.m. for Fire Board to meet to review the proposal. A copy of it's attached here for council to see, but it isn't attached to the public agenda, that shows the current agreement that is being proposed for the fire service, but it's not yet approved until Fire Board meets. The ask for council tonight is to extend the MOU to allow Fire Board to finish deliberations on this and recommend an agreement for councils to approve. We have a resolution, whereas the town of Swan River and Municipality of Swan Valley West entered into a memorandum of understanding on May 16th, 2023 for the purpose of providing joint administration of fire protective services in the Swan Valley and neighboring area. And whereas the MOU expires on June 16th, 2023, and both parties continue to express a desire to complete a final agreement to complete the scope of partnership, now therefore be it resolved, the Municipality of Swan Valley West agrees to extend the MOU beginning June 17th, 2023, and ending December 31st, 2023, or until such time as the final agreement is approved and signed. Is there a mover? Councillor Burick. Councillor Kushniryk to second the resolution. Discussion on the resolution. So this isn't yet approving the agreement, this is simply extending the time to come to final terms. There has been some back and forth negotiation without a full Fire Board meeting. Almost everything is resolved in there, so Fire Board should have a fairly easy evening of it, going through it, working out the final couple details and wordings, but I think it's pretty close to coming to council for review. So certainly take some time to read through that draft. This is very similar to what the final is going to look like. Here's another discussion. We'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. We move now to number 10, committee reports and communications. Let's go around the table, starting with Councillor McGregor.
Well, library board was quite busy last couple of weeks. As you all well know, that the head librarian has been let go. I think you all heard about that. I have noticed that communication just amongst ourselves in email is just fantastic now. There's, I don't know what, seems to be some kind of renewed effort there to really keep everybody in the loop of what's going on. And they're advertising for head librarian. It looks positive, it really does. I think it's on the right track. We have a meeting tomorrow night, I believe, so be a little more up to date after that, but It's looking good.
Anything else to report? Councillor?
Just a
Sorry.
question, Michael, is there a new librarian? Hasn't been hired yet.
Advertisements are out, but no one's been hired yet.
There's one other thing I do have to report. Reeve and I spent some time in Kendall looking at some properties that people have concerns with. And I don't know if anybody's gone for a little cruise through there lately, but there's some pretty rough looking sites.
In Kendall?
Yeah. And so some of the people living there are quite concerned. But
It's always a tough
no.
one.
But then there's the other question. We kind of tipped on this a little bit too. Are we able to enforce bylaws? That's the next question. I think we as a council have to look at that and how we go about doing that. Because there's some pretty good concerns there, and it's just pretty rough. There's some properties I don't know how they're still standing, let alone people living in it. It's pretty rough. But that's all I have to report.
Councillor Neely?
Nothing to report.
Councillor Burick?
I haven't attended any committee meetings, but I did attend several interview meetings for grader operator for Green Team. I attended the G4 last night at Thunderhill Chalet. I was just going to say that Reeve did an excellent presentation of committees you're on, and you did excellent sharing of the thing. And I just wish that Jeremy would have been there to kind of report something positive, that the G4 is going in a positive direction. So yeah, it was good. Just we got rained out, that was the only thing, but good, excellent facility, beautiful facility. And it was nice to see. My first time up there, I think it was everybody's first time up there with a G4, and I think that everybody was impressed. So that's it.
Councillor Blosha?
Okay, I did attend the grader operator interviews. No committee meetings as it's the beginning of June. Some ratebearer concerns that I dealt with through the office and the Reeve, and I think they've been looked after.
Good. Councillor Kushniryk?
Not much for meetings, really, just the meeting at Thunderhill, which we've already addressed. I've done some tours like RJ there, there are some lots and whatnot that need a lot of help. On that note, I think we also have a lot of our own lots that need to be really spruced up before we can't say clean yours when we haven't cleaned ours. So we've got to address cleaning some of our own properties up too. Not a whole lot more than that.
All right. So I'll touch on a few things and maybe expand on a couple. Library board, we heard a little bit about. Certainly I've been receiving some phone calls from people about library with some concerns. So what I've been explaining to them is that no one is particularly happy with the interim hours of the library. The board has discussed that those hours will be tried to be transitioned back to the original hours by September. There's no firm plan for that, but certainly that's the intention. So the hope is that library hours return to normal as soon as possible. There's lots of work to do at the library, but as Councillor McGregor indicated, the board has been very busy. One of the things that was outstanding was the financial audit for the library for 2022. Until that's completed, the province of Manitoba won't release funding from public library services. That audit has been completed earlier today. It will be presented to the board later tomorrow for approval and sent into the province, which will then free up the funding from the provincial portion of the library, which is needed at this point. We've advanced an additional $10,000, but we have not yet given the full amount of money, as we're just walking the board through a few things to make sure that they're ready and they don't go on a shopping spree. So that's, I believe, well in hand. Working through it, the board's functioning quite well. On the Kenville aspect, I did take the tour. We were invited by several ratepayers, so we met some of them. We went for a tour, and I took Councillor Kushniryk on a different day and drove them through. Certainly I agree there's some issues there. I don't think we would deny that at all. The question that comes up is, to date, our property standards bylaws have never been amalgamated. So since amalgamation, we're still working with two different bylaws. We have one for the village of Reno, we have another one for all the rural area. The discussion we had amongst those of us that were there was that those bylaws don't serve us well. They don't see a difference for Kenville or the houses in the urban area of Benito or the houses in the urban area of Swan River from a farm in Alpine. And certainly, we would all have different expectations of those properties. We may not have a concern if a farm in Alpine has 2 or 3 old grain trucks there that don't have licenses, but our bylaw forbids that. And so if we begin enforcing our current bylaw, I would want to see us do it in a fair and equitable manner to all properties. And I believe we would then not have to worry about getting anything else done in the meetings. Because really, those bylaws, some of them are pretty tight. But unless we're willing to enforce it everywhere, we shouldn't be enforcing it. So my recommendation has been that we need to redo the bylaws. We need to define what the urban areas are, and then we need to consult with the public on what appropriate standards are for urban areas, what appropriate standards are for rural areas. And I think there'll be different standards. I don't think that's a big argument. I think there'll be different standards between the 2 areas. Whether you have neighbors 100 feet away or whether you have neighbors a mile away will make a difference to the standards you should comply with. So that's going to take some time. It won't be what the folks in Kenville want to hear. They're looking for immediate solutions. Some of the properties in Kenville, they'll violate other problems, other bylaws. There are some safety concerns. There's at least one property that we're going to need to look into doing some access control, because it appears that probably you could gain access to it too easily. So we will speak to the property owner there shortly, and they will be given some time to board up their property as it needs to be, or it'll be done for them. We'll probably also have the discussion with a couple other people that I wouldn't say structurally unsound, but certainly raise some questions when you look at the house that we should ask them to be looking into what they're living in and see where we're going with that. So outside of how it looks, the safety, I think there's some aspects that we maybe need to address a little sooner. So we'll maybe chase that down a little bit. As far as other things, the G4 meeting last night wasn't particularly well attended by any council. I don't think anybody had more than 3 members there last night. And part of that was the time of year, part of that was the location of where it was. And excuse me, I'm just pulling up my list of where I've been so I can speak a little more knowledgeably. It was a good meeting, and boy, the planning was great. The execution, that thunderstorm really just threw a wrench into things. So we're thinking we got a couple inches of rain up there before and during the meeting. Some of the vehicles from some of our councillors are still at Thunderhill now, stuck in the mud, unable to get out. So we have some cleanup to do to get out of there. However, it was a beautiful facility. We had some great presentations. One of them was from the RCMP. They were there discussing the GIS section. So their proposal to put a GIS section in the Swan River Valley, the initial cost for the first year is $650,000. The town has indicated they would like us to share that with them in some way. They haven't named a dollar value, but it's an ask to all other 3 municipalities to look at sharing towards that. So we had a GIS member there from Portage and Perry, Constable Turco was there. He used to be posted in Swan River many years ago. Now he works in Portage as the head of their GIS unit. We also had a gentleman from the West Crest unit out of Dauphin there. We had Joe from the local detachment, and we had just a member from the local detachment to kind of give us that well-rounded look. It was a long presentation, but to sum it up, if you've ever watched Law & Order or any of those police-type shows, what you've seen there is what a GIS unit does. What you don't see there is what general duty officers do, which is respond to immediate calls and never have time for anything. I thought to Law & Order as they did the presentation, you see when the first call comes, you see some officers standing around in uniform keeping the scene. Those are the general duty officers, the detectives, and the GIS unit. So they made a long, hard point about the fact that we only have general duty officers here right now, and that because of that, they simply don't have time to investigate drug trafficking and many of the things that are causing some of our crime issues. They also don't have time to invest in gang prevention. So we heard in Portage and Perry how within a year and a half of establishing a GIS unit, they were able to remove the gangs from Portage and Perry. They left. We heard about their selective enforcement program for frequent flyers of the criminal justice system, where they can invest the time in the top 10 people that reoffend. If they are out on bail, they have the time to check that curfew a couple times a night. They have time to check, they'll sit someplace and watch for a day. And when they walk out of the house, they'll arrest them for violating bail and put them back in jail again. They say it's been very successful. For the most part, they feel they have harassed the criminals in the areas of GIS units enough that they've left and gone to other areas, which could be part of what's blessing us, is that this is an easier area when we only have general duty officers. It's pretty hard to swallow the $650,000 price tag. That's for the first year. That does include 2 vehicles. The second year would be slightly less, but slightly might only be $50,000 less. So it would be around $1.2 to $1.3 million for 2 years of GIS service. 2 years would be seen as sort of the minimum. It could go on after that, but some places have canceled it after a couple of years once they get the problem under control. But it's a scary amount of money to think of coming up. The basic message from the RCMP is we will not see the full force of the RCMP here unless we spend this money. For example, and I want to qualify that because a lot of people have concerns about the statement, the West Crest unit comes in when they have information on a drug house, on trafficking, on an operation that needs to be done. They're not able to get that information because the general duty officers don't have time for it. So the initial investigation steps are never being done here. So the Crest unit doesn't come in to enforce because it hasn't happened. The rare exceptions are, unfortunately, the murder that happened not that long ago, the drugs up near Birch River, which again was a result of a murder investigation. So when we saw major crimes and such in the community, some of the information came from the Crest to come in and execute some warrants to do some things. But without the GIS section here, the Crest unit isn't coming to help them because there's nothing credible here from the general duty to go on. One comment was made by the Crest officer. He had been in Swan River and they had been doing a drug investigation here. And he indicated it was over in this general vicinity of our community. He said they had never seen anything like it because it was in the beginning of COVID times when their health recommendations were to stay 6 feet apart. And at a drug house they were performing a stakeout at, there was 15 clients waiting in line to purchase drugs, each of them 6 feet apart. And the line actually stretched out of the house and down the block on the sidewalk. So as they sat there doing their surveillance that day, they just simply watched as the clients slowly made their way to the house, and each one was only in for a minute or two, but the line continued to grow. And the length of the line became 15 people waiting to buy drugs, but thankfully they were being COVID safe and were all 6 feet apart. They executed a warrant later that day at their residence and took the drugs away that hadn't been sold. But that's the type of things they're seeing in Swan River. It's pretty extreme. He was clear that in all of the officers that were involved in that operation, none of them had ever seen a lineup at a drug house waiting to purchase drugs, especially not 15 people long. But it was something they had observed here. So it's something to think about. I don't know where we go with it. I don't know where the town would find the money either. It's going to be a very tough thing, but certainly that's the recommendation from RCMP is how to solve the crime problem is to spend an awful lot of money and have some more officers. The rest of the G8 we heard from medical services. We've heard most of that information here. We heard from RISE a little bit. Most of that information was here with the exception of the community group provided their report last night. So as you'll recall, about 15 months ago, then council struck a community group that was representative of 3 individuals from each of 4 councils for a total of 12 members. They were tasked with a list of duties that were to determine what should be spent on economic development, how to best do economic development, and how to have more success than RISE had had in the past. Their initial report was due in November. However, the group did not meet until December for the first time, and of the 12 members who had accepted the assignment, and each of them, I understand, had been contacted and said they were willing to sit on the committee, only 3 of them came to the meeting. They did hold a couple more meetings. Each of them were only attended by the 3 persons as well. So they did provide their report last night, which was arguably 7 months late. And the report said that as municipalities, we should hire someone to talk about economic development with people and figure out what should be done for economic development in the valley. Which it was a report, but it perhaps wasn't what my dream had been. My dream had been that we would come back with some concrete steps of, you know, I thought that's maybe what they were doing in the last 15 months, was spending some time talking to people and figuring out what to do, not saying we should talk to people. But in any case, that was presented. Settlement Services, although they'll point out that's not their name, it's Northwest Regional Immigration Services, was there. They were presenting to all municipalities with specific asks to Minnetonka's Bozeman and to Mountain to be part of the group. We suggested even $500 to $1,000, just a token amount from those municipalities. The town of Swan River and Swan Valley West each contribute $5,000 or $4,000 to the group now. They do have a budget of nearly $500,000. So that $8,000 we're contributing is leveraging $500,000. So it is more of a token to have the other 2 municipalities involved, but the feeling is it would be really nice to see all 4 supporting immigrants to the area. We had an immigrant there last night. Some of it was kind of eye-opening as he explained the process of coming here, why they left Winnipeg to come to Swan River and like it here better. With some interesting stuff there, and also the importance of immigrant services to them and their family when they come here, that they felt more welcome here than they felt in Winnipeg, and because of that they like to stay here. So it's kind of a good thing. We did unfortunately some flood patrol in the last few days. We had some substantial rain, so I've been out to a couple of flood sites for that, so as Public Works to do some stuff. On the 31st of May, I attended a medical recruitment committee meeting. That's medical professional, insert the proper title. I think we know what we're talking about. We are now allowed to have 2 members on that committee. So far as yet, I'm the only one assigned. So if somebody else here is interested in attending, each municipality now contributes 2 people to the committee. So if somebody else is interested, we can get you appointed to it and get you coming to meetings. Things are pretty well in hand there. There's a lot better structure now. The committee is operating much better. We're moving forward. As other people have mentioned, a lot of interviews have been done. And going back here, I believe I have exhausted everything of note back to our previous meeting. Questions for any of the stuff we've heard tonight from other members of council or myself for the discussion?
Just Kennel, the Kennel Hall, what's the latest on the Kennel Hall?
Last I heard was they were waiting for insurance to give them a ruling.
No.
They had an opinion from the engineer, and the opinion was not particularly favorable for it being an insurance claim.
And I haven't heard anything since.
And no updates since then. The engineer noted that the snow load had probably made worse an existing condition. The report read that it would be pretty difficult for insurance to think that was their problem, which is unfortunate. We can also advise for Kenville, we had an insurance inspection from our insurer in the last few days. They were unable to gain access to the Kenville skating rink. We were unable to find anyone with keys to the Kenville skating rink. So we have had the building rekeyed. We're now in possession of the keys. The feeling around management is that the committee has abandoned the rink because we chased after every committee member we could find, and none of them even had a key for the building. So I think it's pretty clear there's no operating committee for the rink right now. Although a couple of years ago, council sat here and had that same discussion, and when the information came out in the newspaper that we were discussing the rink was abandoned, we heard from a bunch of people that said it wasn't. So don't assume it's so yet, but the lock has been changed so we can get the insurance people in to look at the building. A couple of councillors have discussed that we should go look at the building as well. There's some sloping on the back wall that's a concern. There's also been some discussion of getting Public Works in to deal with the playground, to get the sand looking nice, get the weeds out of it, and get the playground usable for children in the Kendall area. Tonight, probably ongoing now, there's a cleanup in Benito. Is that still going ahead?
As far as I know, it's going ahead, and
They're out there.
there's preliminary discussion of them carrying on to help in Kenville and possibly some of our lots in Durban, just because we haven't had the manpower to do it.
So we have the Mennonite youth in Benito tonight. They're doing a fundraiser for a youth trip or a youth resort of some sort they're doing.
They're cleaning up
So
property.
they're doing cleanup in Benito.
No private properties, just
No, just
all.
We're making a donation to their trip as a result. So we're seeing them as a contractor.
pay it somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. So we're getting that cleaned up, and we do have that wedding coming up this weekend as part of the reason why we're giving a little push. Plus we're a little short on staff, as everybody knows, so it's good to help you along. Anything else before we move on from 10? Okay, so our next up on the agenda is our in-camera session, so we will take another short break. You're pretty lucky you get 2 tonight before we go in camera. We'll get everything cleaned up here. We'll be back in 10 minutes to go in camera.
Roger that.
So we're moving now after the in-camera session to a couple things we had looked at before to provide updates. So we had moved 5.1, request for quotes in camera. Council's decided to table that for now. We'll be adjusting the quoting, which means the 2 quotes received will not be made public because we'll be re-quoting from those same vendors. We also took a peek at 711 weed inspector. Council's determined to make an offer to the person. Should the offer be accepted, that will return to the table for us to approve the hiring of a weed inspector. 7.2 was delayed. The in-camera staff has been given direction on that matter. It will return to council as well. 7.5 organizational chart discussion when on in camera. We are bringing a resolution for it. Be it resolved that the council of the Municipality of Swan Valley West approve the organizational chart number. Sorry, the right number.
This was one of this was two.
Number 1 as discussed and attached. Be resolved, the Council of Municipality of Swan Valley West approve the organizational chart number 1 is discussed and attached. Is there a mover, please? Councillor Neely, and the seconder, please.
Brad already put it on.
Oh, did you say something?
No, I'm not stretching, that's all I'm just stretching.
Any further
You're too
discussion?
close, you're out of it spherical.
Yeah. Thinking he needs an eye exam at that point, I'm pretty.
Any further discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. I believe we have now dealt with everything that we could deal with, and there are no other resolutions to bring. Does anybody else have business for council tonight before we adjourn?
I just wanted to say another thing too. The mower men can start cutting. Is that a good idea or?
We're doing some mower repairs.
Still repairs.
So we can update the one mower. Parts were ordered last year for it. Daniel will be coming back tomorrow to get his mower ready to go. The Swan River mower is not in operational condition. It was thought to be parts were ordered, parts have come, parts were returned, more parts were ordered. They have been picked up. At current, we're unable to locate the parts. We're putting another day into searching for the parts. It's a couple $1,000s worth of parts that the vendor indicates we have picked up and have taken delivery of, but we're unable to locate them. If we cannot find them, we'll be reordering and securing more parts to repair the mower. No, it's the Swan River North.
Because the grass to be cut. Like, I mean, it's 1.5 to 2 feet tall already gone to the seed. So I mean, they could go, but.
So we'll have one going here. It'll be a day or two to get them spun up because he'll come in, he'll check the machine, but they'll cut a couple things to make sure it's working right, and he'll go on the roads. So it'll come. I can update dust control began yesterday as well. Continuing today, it's going well. Scott is riding with the vehicle. Anything else tonight before we adjourn before curfew?
Early.
Early.
Gotta be something to keep us here till midnight.
We'll go to
Don't challenge.
We'll head to number 13 on the agenda. Be it resolved, this meeting shall now adjourn at 10:18 p.m. The next meeting shall be Tuesday, June 27th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Moved by Councillor Blosha, seconded by Councillor Neely.
Didn't even need it.
Let's have a few minutes of discussion on this one.
How come we always put our hands up?
We call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.